Hello, welcome to my channel. So today we're going to be talking about tuples, which is our task 7. So we are going to go through some easy stuff which I'm going to be checking right away. So I think this is tuples addition. So the name of this task is known as tuples addition. So we're asked to write a function that add two tuples. Tuples, sorry for how I pronounce it, but anyhow you can just take it. So there should be a prototype called add underscore tuples, which accepts two tuples parameter, which is tuple underscore a is equals to open and close bracket, and tuple underscore b is equals to open and close bracket, like that. Then it's going to return a tuple with two integers. So whenever we run our code, that function should return a tuple with two integers. The first element should be, the first element that is provided in the list, or sorry, in the tuple, should be the addition of the first element of each argument, and the second element should be the addition of the second element of each argument. You are not allowed to import any models. You can assume that the tuples will only contain integers. So that's our assumption. So if a tuple is smaller than 2, use the value 0 for each missing integer. If the tuple is bigger than 2, use only the first two integers. So that is what we are doing. So we're going to be accessing each value of a tuple, which we are going to be doing right away without wasting a damn time. So for the next part of it here is in this place rather, this is where we test the code. So assuming this is the value for tuple A, this first one, then this is the value for tuple B. So tuple A has 1 and 89, and tuple B has 88 and 11. So whenever we run the tuple function to bring these two tuples together, we are going to run it, that print the function, because the function is being assigned to a variable, and when we run it, it's going to give us this as our answer. And whatever we have here, for instance, this first one, when one parameter is provided while the other is empty, this is going to happen, and if none is provided, we get back our answer as it is. So that is the whole concept behind this. So now that we are done, the next thing we're going to be doing here is we are going to start writing our code. So actually I've changed my environment a little, but I will still go back to that to get those stuff, because it's very important. So this is task 7. So based on the fact that we're working with task 7, I'm going to vim, I don't know if vim is installed here, but let me just do that, 7. Then we're going to have dash add, then underscore tuples, tuple, sorry, not tuples, .py, like that, py. So we have our editor, which is open. So we're going to go ahead and start writing our code. So I'm going to put exclamation mark slash, then I'm going to put usr slash bin slash, then I'm going to put thon, which stands for Python 3. Then I'm going to go over to the next line. So that is for that. Now the next thing we're going to be doing here is we are going to bring in our function, which we are going to define. So the function is going to be add underscore tuples, exactly what we saw there. add underscore tuples. So we are going to open and close bracket. So let's assume that you can add multiple stuff in there, but we just have a limit, which is we just want to provide two parameters for each tuple. Sorry, we want to provide two elements for each tuples. So add tuple. So I'm going to give the first tuple as tu ple, then underscore a. So that's the first tuple. So I'm just going to create an empty tuple here. That's for the first parameter. I'm going to put a comma. Now for the second parameter, I'll still use tuple underscore b. Then I'm going to equate it also to empty parameter, and that is that, to settle that for the function. Now that we have called our function and provide two parameters, so we want to get the number of the total number of stuff that is being provided, the total number of elements that is inside our list. So how can we do that? The first thing is I'm just gonna call list A. Okay, let me just call total A, or total underscore A, like this. So I'm just going to equate it to the length of the tuple A, just like that. So this is going to give me the total stuff I have provide. Whenever I print out that is going to give me the total of what I have passed in. So you can always have your print to test each steps you are working through. So for instance, I print the total like this, underscore A. So I just want to test that so that you are going to see what I'm doing. So now whenever I run that, add underscore tuple, then I open the parentheses. So in the parentheses I can pass something like, for the first one I can pass something like 2, 3. That's for the first tuple. Then for the second tuple I can pass 2, I can pass 2, 2, just like that, comma. I can pass like 3 parameters in there. So that is that for that. So if I go ahead and leave this space where we are working, so the first thing I need to do before executing is to change my mode. So I'm just going to put 7 there and hit enter. So I'm going to execute that right away. So just going to hit enter. You can see we have 2 printed out. You can see the 2 there. 2 is printed out because we only have 2 parameters provided for the list A. So you can see that. Good. Now for instance, this second tuple, which is tuple B, that I provide 2, 2, 2, that is 3 stuff is provided there. So I will create another variable. I'll create another variable, call it total underscore B. Then I'm just going to set it to the length, and that length I'm going to call it tuple underscore B, just like that. So if I come over to this place and remove A and put B there, we're supposed to have 3 for that. So I'm going to escape that and see when I run that, you see 3 is printed out because 3 parameters was passed in there. So you can see even I come in here and add another stuff there. I add another stuff like 5 in there, so it's now 4 now. So if I run it, you see 4 is printed out. So just like that. So now I have tested it and I know what is going on now. Now the next thing, I can get rid of this print. We don't need it, so I just want to get the total number. So I can come over here and hit center. So this is our code where we are working. Yeah, so that is that. So now the next thing we are going to be doing is we are going to write a condition that is going to solve a problem of checking the tuples if they meet the right condition. So the first thing we're going to be checking is we're going to check if it is only one parameter that is provided, or if 2 parameters are provided. So how can we do that? So I'm just going to write if total underscore a is equals to is less than 1. So you know what I mean. That means when I say something is less than 1, that means anything that is less than 1 is 0 and downwards. 0 minus 1 minus 3. So anything that is less than 1 is 0. That means I'm saying if the total that means the total length there is 0, then something should happen. So based on the fact that whatever I provide here is less, the length of that is less than 1, or I can just say is equals to 0. So whichever way, you can put 2 conditions, or the conditions that way is either it is less than 1, or you can put this. This is another way of putting that. If you don't want to put it that way, you can still put it this way. It still works. Is equals to instead of 0 1, you put 0 like this. So you can put 0 like that. So that will give the if condition for that. That is going to settle that other part. So now what is going to happen if this condition is true? What is going to happen is we want the tuples to be set to 0. So I'm going to say tuples of A should be set to, then I'm going to pass in a tuple that has 2 parameters but it is empty, which is tuple set to 0 and the other part 0. So whenever no parameters is being provided. So now let us check that and see if it works. So we come to our print statement here, which we have in here, and we want to print the value of the tuples we have there, so that I'm going to put underscore a like this. So tuple underscore a. So you see, so now if I run this right away, you see that we have 2 and 4 will be printed out. So let me test that and you're going to see what we get. So if I run that, you see 2 and 4 is what printed out because the value in there was provided. But let's assume that nothing was provided. So I come in between these 2 and 4 and I just pass nothing like this, like nothing in this side, just a bracket. And sometimes I can even leave it with nothing provided there, neither a bracket or anything at all, and I run it. You can see instead of 2 and 4 provided, this is what was sent back to me. So because nothing was provided, the value there is 0. So this condition was set through and this code runs. So that is it. So if you don't use this, you can use less than. So whichever way, it still solves the same problem. Now that we have sorted that issue, we still also want to check for something else. So I'm going to say else if. So else if. So what are we checking for? Next, what will also be the problem if one parameter is provided and the other parameter is left empty? So that is the next stuff we want to solve now. So how can I do that? So I'm just going to say total. I'm just going to get the total underscore a. So I can either use less than 2. So anything that is less than 2 is starting from 1, then 0. 1 is less than 2. I think that is the only tangible number that is less than 2. 0 is less than 2, and the rest. 3 is not less than 2. So if whatever we provide is less than 2, so let's assume 1. So that means if one information is provided, what should happen? So if I don't want to use the less than symbol, I can easily say if it is equals to 1, or if it's equivalent to 1. So I put equivalent to 1 like this. So I'm just making this as simple as possible. Then what should happen? I'm still going to call my tuples and tell the real value of, or tell it what to do. So I'm going to say tuple underscore a should be, then I'm going to put equals to. I'm going to open and close my bracket. That's the first thing. Now the second thing is we want that first number to be showcased. We want that first number to come up on the stuff if possible, which is very important. We want the first number to be printed out, but let the other number to be represented as 0. So we cannot give it a hard-coded value like 0, 0 like this. So we need to access the first number. And how can we access the first number? To access the first number, the way we do access first number in other stuff like list, that is the same way we are going to apply to access the first number here. And how can we do that? So I'm just going to get rid of this 0, and I'm going to pass tuple underscore a, that's the tuple itself. Then I'm going to put a square bracket in there. Now what's that square bracket doing there? The square bracket is going to hold the value of 0, which is the first index. So I made mention of index, so this is going to access the first value. So let's see how this works to see if we are doing the right thing. So if for instance I come in here and inside that point, where am I, and I pass only 5 as my parameter and put a comma, and the second parameter is empty. So what differentiates this from a function? Now let me put something straight to us, which is very important. If for instance I have a tuple that I want to call like something like this, and I put 5 here, this is not regarded as a tuple. Okay, let me make it more clear. Tuples, assuming that means for tuple, I'm creating a tuple and I put tuples equals to 5. This is not regarded as a tuple. This will interpret it as a multiple of 5 or something like that, regarded as a number. But if we are dealing with tuples, actually that means if we have 5 like this, we need to add a comma at this other side, even though any other information is not provided. But that comma there is important. That indicates that yes, this is a tuple and not a number. So I'm just going to get rid of that. Good. So now that we have that in there and we have 5 here, so what is going to happen? This is what my code is going to do. It's going to access the first value I provide in that A, which is 5. You can see. Then the other one that is empty is going to cover it with what? 0. So it's going to be void. Nothing is going to be there except the 0, hard-coded 0 value I passed in there. So I'm going to escape there and I'm going to go out and run that right away, and you can see we have 5 and we have what, 0 represented there. So you can see what is going on actually because of this value that is here. So now I want the same thing to applicable, whatever I've done here, I want the same thing to be applicable to that of B too. So I'm just going to copy all of this line of code. I'm just going to copy it. Then after copying that, I'm going to paste it there like that. So actually there's a lot of changes that's going to take place. Okay, good. So that should not be for total A again, so this should be for B, because the same thing that is applicable to A should also be applicable to B. I can come here and put that to B and B and B like that. Sorry, B, just like that, and that settles the case. Now that that other aspect of that is solved, the next thing we're going to be doing is, actually I can even change this sign. Maybe I decided I'm using equals to sign and that looks a bit straightforward. I want to make it way too complex, a little bit analytical, so I can just get rid of this and put if is less than 1. So I can put less than 1 there instead of equals to 0. Sorry, 1. Wow, 1, good. And here I can put less than 2, which is still equals to 1. So just like this. So you can see what I'm doing right here. So now that I've done that, it still works fine, just as it ought to work. Good. So now I can go and check that of B and see what is going on. So I'm just going to put WQ and I'm going to run that. You see, sorry, I still print tuple of A, so I'm going to get rid of the A and I'm going to replace it with B, just like that. Now I can run that and let's see what we get. You can see we have 2, 2, 2 and 5, which is that for B. So let us also do other testing. What about if nothing is provided? It's just an empty bracket, just like that. What is going to happen? So you can see 0, 0 is printed out. And what about if one value is provided, like 7? Sorry, instead 7, no, 7, then a comma, just like that. So what should happen? So I'm going to run that. Q, good. So 5 is printed out, then the other number is replaced by a 0. So you can see how reliable and how easy that was. Now the next thing we are going to be doing after we have done that, we want to pass in, we can go ahead and do the other calculations of adding each part of what we do to each part, and it's going to return the final result to us. So how can we do that? Now that we are done with the other aspect, now the next thing we are going to be doing here is after the check-in, I'm going to be creating a big tuples. I'm going to call it result. So this is a tuple that is going to handle the final outcome. So this is the biggest tuple. So in this big tuple, the tuple have other things in it. So for instance, let's show an example. Let's access the first value of 8. As we do access in this place, we use tuple underscore A So we want to add tuple underscore a, the first index, plus that of the first index of tuple underscore b. So I'm going to say tuples underscore a, then plus tuple underscore b, like this. Now I want to access their first value. So the first value of that, which we have there, so the first value is always 0, and the first value of b2 will always be 0. Okay, so sorry for that. Let me correct something here. You're supposed to be a b, because everything here is in b. So come over to this place, and in it I'm going to pass 0. So that's accessing the first part of this thing. So that is going to add the first part of this and the first part of this. So if in our question we have 5 and 1, and we have 7 and 3, like this, so it's going to add the first part of a, and it's going to add the first part of b, which is 0 and 0 of b. So that's give us the first part. So if we are going to print out our result, you see what we get. So if I print out these results, like this, so it's going to print a tuple with an outcome of 5 plus 7. So 5 plus 7 is going to be what? That's going to be 12. So I'm going to escape and test that right away to see if that's what we get. So you can see we have 12 printed out on our screen, which is a good start. So now I can go ahead now and create the addition part for the second point. So I want to use the tuple underscore a to access the second index, which will be 1 plus tuple underscore b of the second index, which will be 1. So that will add this part and this part. So it's going to add 1 and 3, which is going to give us 4. So if we go ahead and run that right away, so you can see we have 12, which was the first tuple, followed by a 4, which is the second part of it. So that's have really settled the case. So now that we have gotten that, the next thing we are going to be doing here is I'm going to delete this. So I'm going to be returning my result. So I'm going to be returning my result. So returning the value of result instead of printing it directly here. So just like this, I can come here and delete this. So you can see. So whenever we run this, actually nothing is going to be printed out. But if we want to see what is printed out, because this is it. When you see this, nothing is going to be printed out. Whenever you return, it's just empty. But actually it runs. So we want to see if we can print that out. So you can just assign it to something. So I can just say test, test, and just create a variable called test and equate it to the function. So can come over and say print, then inside it I just pass the test, just like that. So now we can go and run it and see we still get the same answer. So that is that for this. So hope you guys enjoy this. Please make sure you don't forget to like, share and subscribe, which is very important. Please make sure you subscribe, very important. Subscribe, and so that you won't miss any part of my video that I'm going to be dropping our next series. So thanks for watching and have a nice day.